Mormon Missing Words, 40 Surprising Things Not Found in the Book of Mormon. During the past few months, as I spent a lot of time researching the Book of Mormon, my eyes were repeatedly opened by what I found. I learned so much about things like polygamy, tithing, temples, and covenants. I was also surprised to finally realize the true meanings of words such as iniquity and transgression. But I've also begun to notice that many things I've been taught all my life as a Mormon are not found anywhere in the Book of Mormon. Because I know that the book contains the fullness of Christ's gospel, this surprised me. The fact that many of our current church doctrines are not found anywhere in the Book of Mormon is a big deal to me. I've spent time recently looking through all of the gospel topics on the church website, as well as looking through the current temple recommend questions and other foundational teachings. And I've come to the conclusion that many of them are modern inventions. They simply don't exist in the Book of Mormon. I want to look at some of these topics and consider the idea that sometimes what is not written in the Book of Mormon can be just as important as what is written. I guess this realization started when I first searched the topics tithing, which only occurs twice in the Book of Mormon and is nothing like our current version, and Sabbath, which word is never used at all past the Book of Mosiah, and temple, which only occurs once from the time Jesus appears in the Americas until Moroni finishes the book. These got me thinking, what else is not in the book that I always assumed was there? Well, let's see. The first word is apostasy. Apostasy is a huge topic right now. The current church leadership considers apostasy, meaning disagreeing with whatever the doctrine at the moment might be, as one of the greatest sins we can commit. It is one of the few things that can get a person immediately kicked out of the church. Leaders are working hard as we speak to round up and punish people that they accuse of apostasy, including some prominent YouTube creators. So what does Christ's everlasting gospel in the Book of Mormon say about apostasy? Nothing. The book doesn't even contain that word. And that's interesting because there are pages and pages of hits about apostasy on LDS.org. We even have a gospel topic page all about this word. But nowhere does it exist in the Book of Mormon. The silence is deafening. Let's see, what else? General authorities. Here's what we get on LDS.org. Tons of stuff. Let's look in the Book of Mormon. Nothing. No authorities, no general authorities, nothing. How about First Presidency? LDS.org, pages of hits. Book of Mormon, nothing. Complete silence. How about just presidency or even president? We got those all over the place in the church. Nothing. How can that be? From the highest rank in the entire church, the elite of the elites, God's spokespeople, all the way down to the president of the Beehives class, don't even exist in the Book of Mormon. Wow. How can we sustain presidents if they don't exist in Christ's true gospel? Which brings me to the word sustain. Our church website and our church culture is literally awash in this word. Book of Mormon, nothing. To sustain does not exist in the fullness of Christ's gospel. Bishops, same thing. Aaronic priesthood. LDS.org writes libraries on the Aaronic priesthood, but it doesn't exist in the entire Book of Mormon, not even the word Aaronic. Holy cow. But it's an essential part of the covenant path, though. How can it not be there? That's a big oops. What about deacons or deacons' quorums? Nope, not there. Even the word quorum, such a foundational concept that permeates all aspects of our modern priesthood, that word does not exist in the Book of Mormon. The 70, not there anywhere. High council, it's an invention in modern times, and a very useful one for condemning apostasy, but it isn't anywhere in the Book of Mormon. Patriarchs, this one surprised me. They are the darlings of LDS.org, so I thought sure patriarchs of some kind were in the Book of Mormon. No patriarch, no patriarchal, nothing about this man-dominated system that completely controls our current church. How about mission or missionary? Nada. Missionaries don't exist in the Book of Mormon. The only ones Christ called to travel and preach his gospel were his 12 disciples. But today, we have the youth do that, like so much else that's uncomfortable for us adults to do. What about keys, priesthood or otherwise? The word keys only occurs once in the entire Book of Mormon, and that's only for the wicked Laban's keys to his treasury. As a church, we are so proud of our priesthood keys, and yet that is a modern invention too. It does not exist in the Book of Mormon. Neither does steward or stewardship, such crucial elements of the priesthood hierarchy. Not there. And interestingly, for anyone curious, there is no primary or young women's there either. One of the omissions most fascinating to me of all is the fact that the word millennium does not exist in the Book of Mormon. This topic has been so central to my church experience, everyone looking forward to this magical time of 1,000 years. In fact, it is so important that at one time, during the late 1840s, Brigham Young even taught the saints that the millennium had already started. A century later, I remember well, as Y2K approached, many Mormons whispered that the millennium was happening, that we were there. But nope, nada. I'm starting to see, as I study the prophecies of the Book of Mormon, that there is a whole different pattern for the last days than I had always been led to believe. It's fascinating what happens when myths get dispelled, and I free myself to read what is actually written in the book. Another word conspicuously missing from the Book of Mormon, but which is all over in our Mormon culture, is dispensation. An interesting word that is used to explain or excuse so many of the differences we have created between our modern church and Christ's true gospel. But when I search in the Book of Mormon, that word does not exist. How about temple? It's the single most important focus of our modern church. Temples are where a huge amount of our tithing monies go. They are where a huge amount of our donated time as members go. And they are the end goal of our earthly progression, and presumably hold the keys for us to enter to heaven. Unfortunately, Christ doesn't even teach about temples in the Book of Mormon. Neither does he ever say the word endowment or teach about it, nor the word washings, as in washings and anointings, nor baptisms for the dead. See Moroni 8 for more on this subject. Nor the word proxy or vicarious. These are all either modern inventions or things borrowed from the ancient law of Moses. Nor does Christ ever teach about temple covenants. There is no mention of temple ordinances in the Book of Mormon. And shocking to many, there is also no mention anywhere of the phrase covenant path. So what about our current beliefs about eternal progression? All those things we learn in primary and go on to teach as missionaries, things like Godhead, that doesn't exist in the Book of Mormon. Or spirit child or spirit children, nope, not in the Book of Mormon. How about pre-existence or premortal life? Pages and pages of hits on LDS.org, all over in our church manuals, but nowhere in the Book of Mormon do either of those words occur. How about counsel in heaven? LDS.org is bursting with that phrase. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist in the Book of Mormon either. Same with war in heaven, not there. But certainly foreordination is there, right? Wrong. It's tragic. Not even the ubiquitous term spirit world is there, which is amazing because hardly a Sunday goes by without this phrase being mentioned by some well-meaning member. But it isn't mentioned at all by the Book of Mormon. And fasten your seatbelts. Nowhere does the Book of Mormon mention the words celestial, terrestrial, or telestial. Like what? How is that possible? But that's the entire point of the church, isn't it? To get to the celestial kingdom and not to be one of those scrubs that only makes it to the celestial kingdom? Well, sad but true. In the fullness of Christ's everlasting gospel in the Book of Mormon, the concepts of celestial, terrestrial, and telestial do not exist. And speaking of the celestial kingdom, that all-important word exaltation is nowhere to be found in the Book of Mormon. Oh, we can find a never-ending supply of doctrines and philosophies on this subject on LDS.org, and our temples and general conferences are saturated with it, but it doesn't exist in the Book of Mormon. That is mind-blowing to me. Shifting gears a little, what about some of our do's and don'ts in the church? Predictably, the words self-sufficiency and self-reliance don't occur in the Book of Mormon. I guess that's to be expected. They're pretty modern phrases. But I also don't see a doctrine behind them taught, like the ideas of relying on the Lord, sharing everything we have freely, and not setting our hearts upon the riches or our faith in the arm of the flesh. So who knows? Same with the words emergency and emergency preparedness. They aren't in that book. The only thing the Nephites were able to do to prepare for the huge earthquakes and disasters at Christ's death were to be righteous, and Christ himself saved them. No 2-year supply or a 72-hour kit required. Surprisingly, the words moral, immoral, and immorality also don't occur in the Book of Mormon. This one caught me off guard. I'd say these topics were the loudest drumbeat in the church of my youth. They represented the pinnacle of sins we could commit. Why aren't they ever mentioned in the book? Unsurprisingly, birth control isn't in the Book of Mormon either. That was a big no-no in the church when I was young. But maybe it's just a modern invention. Who knows? But neither does the Book of Mormon contain the word addict or addiction. LDS.org has no end of things to say about this subject, but the book is silent. That's interesting to me. And also very interesting is the fact that gays, homosexuals, and homosexuality are never spoken of in the Book of Mormon. I was intrigued when I realized this. I've been taught all my life that being homosexual is a great sin and something that will keep someone from being exalted in the celestial kingdom. Oh, we've gone wishy-washy as a church in our stance lately, dancing all around the issue, not really pinning it down. But the bottom line remains the same. Homosexuals are viewed as people who will never be exalted. And so the realization that I can't find anything about homosexuality being a sin in the Book of Mormon is a bit of a shocker. Looking around me and knowing several people who seem to be sincerely homosexual, I can't help but suspect that homosexuality existed during the Book of Mormon times too. So I wonder why it was never talked about as we so ardently discuss it today. Who knows? And finally, women in the priesthood. It's a topic similar to homosexuality because as adamant as we are currently at the church that women cannot and never will hold the priesthood, I can find nowhere in all of Jesus' teachings in the Book of Mormon where he says anything like that. It simply isn't there. Does he say women should have it? No. But just as importantly, he doesn't say that they should not. So until he does say something, I'll try to keep an open mind. That's a long list of words that aren't found anywhere in the Book of Mormon. I'm not saying that some of these words aren't possibly important, and maybe Christ will someday teach us more about these topics. But the fact that he doesn't mention them at all in the Book of Mormon, a book written by his prophets, guarded in the earth for 1,000 years, brought forth by his angel to us, and containing the fullness of his everlasting gospel, the fact that it doesn't contain these words speaks volumes. It speaks so loudly that I can almost no longer hear the cacophony of voices on LDS.org talking authoritatively on each of these subjects. Those modern voices are drowned out by the silence of the Book of Mormon. And I cling to this book. In it, Jesus teaches in 2 Nephi, "Follow me, and do the things which ye have seen me do. Behold, this is the doctrine of Christ, and the only and true doctrine of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost." I cling to the simplicity, the peace, the stillness of Christ's own words from his own mouth. I have faith in his simple, clear gospel, and I look for him and for his true disciples who will return to us and who will do a marvelous work among us someday soon. Until then, I'll wait.